New York, we here. New York, we here. What's poppin', people? Welcome to MSG PM. I'm your host, Kazim Famiwide. My co-host, Monica McNutt, will be joining us very soon. Hopefully, she's in the undisclosed location doing Monica McNutt things, covering the tip-off of the WNBA. But, like I said, New York, we here. The Eastern Conference 4th seed New York Knicks clinch home court advantage, and there's only one person that I absolutely wanted to talk to about that today. He's a longtime friend of the show. He did us a solid, so you know, once a Knick, always a Knick. Shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks. Steve Novak is here with us today. What up, Novi?
How are you doing? Unbelievable. Last day of the NBA season. I mean, watching these games and just realizing that there's 20 teams that could possibly be in the playoffs, and about 8 of them aren't really sure if they're going to be in the play-in or not. And watching all these games fall into place has been fun. But what a way for the season to end in New York. They got a little bit of run from Boston right there, but heck of a close of the regular season.
What an incredible season. I feel like we've been talking since the beginning of the season, back in the MSG AM days, to go all the way to now. But before we talk about these Knicks, let's talk about your Bucks last night. Obviously, a big win for them over the Miami Heat that put the Knicks in position to take this 4 seed going into the Eastern Conference playoffs. Now, the Bucks were eliminated by the Heat last year, and they will face them in the first round as a 3 seed going against the 6. Do they got some get back against the Miami Heat? I feel like they wanted them for this.
I think that's exactly what this is. I mean, obviously, to think that Milwaukee wanted to play the Miami Heat in the first round, it sounds like it's crazy, but you just said it because of the way it went last year in the bubble with Milwaukee Bucks having the best record in the NBA, one of the most dominant seasons in a very long time, and they get bounced early by the Miami Heat, a 5 seed last year. And so you're looking at Miami as the 6 seed this year going, is there a big difference? To be honest, they made it to the finals when they were the 5 seed. Are they that dangerous again? I don't think it mattered to the Milwaukee Bucks. I think this is a team, Giannis looking right there, trying to get in that playoff mode, flexing like the Hulk. The Bucks want to go against the Heat because I think they're in the mindset right now, in order to be the best, you got to beat the best. They don't care when they see who they see. You're trying to be the best. You got to play everybody. And Miami's pretty good, but I think Milwaukee's not afraid to see them.
You know, I know they say a lot of bad things about Milwaukee, but they're all good in my book after the last night. So I'm going to get you some jollof rice courtesy of Giannis because of that. So let's talk about these New York Knicks. 4th place in the Eastern Conference. They got the Atlanta Hawks next week. Take it right here on Madison Square Garden. Obviously, they went 3-0 against them in the regular season. How do you see this matchup playing out with the Knicks and the Hawks? Both teams playing great basketball, by the way.
They are both playing good basketball, but I think if you're the New York Knicks, you got to be licking your chops because, like you said, the Knicks beat Atlanta all 3 games during the regular season. Julius Randle averaged over 37 points per game against Atlanta. This is a team, there's certain matchups you just love going against a certain team, and Julius Randle, one of the best performers all season long, obviously for the Knicks, but in the NBA, this is one of his favorite teams to play. So you have to worry a little bit, I think, if you're Atlanta. But on the other side, there's this guy, Trae Young, who can heat it up and get going. He obviously has a lot to prove from a lot of fronts. I think you always hear the Luka talk, the trade. How good is Trae Young? Should that trade have happened? Can he be a Luka type player like Luka has been in the playoffs? What we saw to him last year, he'll always get those comparisons. And so Trae Young, he plays with a chip on his shoulder, and I think that's going to be a first-round matchup that is going to be a great series.
Now, I want to dive in on this a little bit more, just to kind of put a capsule on this incredible season from Julius Randle, one of 6 players in NBA history to average over 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. Puts him in company with Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson, Russell Westbrook, Nikola Jokic. What does he have to do to make sure these Knicks get past the Atlanta Hawks in the first round of the playoffs?
You know, I think he's just got to be able to close games. And he has been that guy this year. The Knicks have done a great job as a team of staying in games, one of the best defensive teams, the best defensive teams for stretches throughout this season. But if you can give the ball to Julius Randle late in the game and he can get you a bucket, which he has done all year. There's been games, I remember watching a game midseason against Washington. He was having a terrible game. They gave him the ball 4th quarter. Julius Randle went to work, had a short memory, and forgot all about his misses. So I just think this is his time to show. Not only has he had an incredible season, probably the most improved player, should probably be an MVP candidate, but now he's got to be a playoff closer. Give it to them in the fourth quarter. The defense knows you're going to get the ball, the moves you're going to go to, and you just got to be better at doing what you do than the defense is at what they do. And to be honest, he's kind of shown that he's able to do that all year. So it'll be fun to watch.
Listen, I got a lot of trust in the corner of Larry Bird, so let's hope that he comes through like he wants him to come through. Now, last year, we got like the teaser version of the play-in tournament, but now we get the real deal, especially with how the regular season has ended. It doesn't seem like it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. We got 4 teams in this play-in tournament. Which 2 teams do you expect to come out of this play-in and eventually make it to the playoffs next week?
Man, oh man, the play-in is getting a lot of reaction. Obviously, the owners voted on it, unanimously approved it. A lot of the players were speaking really highly about it. And then all of a sudden, as it got closer and teams like the Lakers, LeBron James wasn't too happy about the play and didn't think it was such a good idea. But if I'm looking at the Eastern Conference, I think the teams that come out of the East are Boston and Indiana in that play-in. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, today, Boston sat 6 of their top guys. I just don't see them being able to get bounced. They're a good enough team. They've obviously dealt with some injuries and an up and down season, but I think Boston and Indiana can really come out of the East, and it'll be fun to watch because it's a little bit more like the NCAA, a little bit more like a football scenario. You got to win 1 game, sometimes in this case 2, in the play-in tournament to move on, but it's not a 7-game series, and I think as fans watch it, I think it's going to be really exciting.
For sure. It feels like May Madness in the NBA, right? These single elimination games, all these games at the end of the season that feel important. Now, I don't know if you just watched the Wizards and the Hornets just take place. The Wizards just beat the Hornets. They have the 8th seed going into the playoffs. Do you believe that the Washington Wizards, especially the way Russell Westbrook's been playing, is going to be good enough to either beat the Boston Celtics and make it to the playoffs? What do you think about that team and how they've been playing so far?
You know, a guy like Russell Westbrook, I think he is what is going to make the play-in tournament so magic. Is, look, maybe the Wizards aren't good enough to beat certain teams in a normal NBA 7-game series, but are you crazy? You don't think Russell Westbrook can figure out a way to win 1 or to win 2 if he needs to in order to get his team to advance? He's a guy that's putting up, obviously, monster numbers, dominates the ball. His usage is high, and so if he's hot, if he's playing well, he can be the difference. And there's no question that's what's going to make this play-in tournament exciting is a guy like Russell Westbrook, who is a superstar. He can get hot. He can have 40 points, 15 rebounds, and 20 assists in a game and carry his team for 2 games. And so I think we could see some performances like that. And it's not going to just be in the East. You're looking at the West, looking at the Lakers in the play-in game. Obviously, Memphis is playing against Golden State right now. But however that ends up, the West is going to be exciting too. And I think from a basketball fan perspective, it's going to be different, that people aren't used to watching it this way, but I think the excitement is going to make people want to see it again next year.
That's right, Steve. Obviously, you talked about the East, but let's talk about the West. And you talked about LeBron James, the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers. And Frank Vogel said 6 words that should send a chill down everybody's spine when it came to LeBron James. He looked like his old self, okay? So what do you think about that Western Conference play-in, the Western Conference playoffs, and how the Lakers, the defending champions, look like going to this play-in round?
I think it's going to be more interesting than people think. In the NBA, 7-game series is one thing. We just talked about that. Having to beat a team 4 times is one deal. The Lakers getting beat 1 time by anybody in the NBA is possible. If it had to be 2 times, yes, it can absolutely happen. I think the NBA has too many good players. There's a saying in the NBA, there are bad teams, record-wise, in the NBA, but there are no bad players in the NBA. And that's all it takes to get hot. I was calling the Bucks game not too long ago against the Houston Rockets. Kevin Porter Jr., 20 years old, goes off for 50 points, 11 assists. You would never expect the team in the league with the worst record to beat the Milwaukee Bucks and make them look silly. They did just that. That's all that needs to happen in the playoff tournament to bounce a team like the Los Angeles Lakers. And so it could be very interesting. And to be honest, LeBron James, he's been banged up. Anthony Davis has been banged up. How healthy are they? We'll have to see. LeBron James is 36 years old. He might actually be human as of this year. We've seen our first glimpses of that possibility. So we'll see what happens.
I don't know. It's playoff time. I've bet against LeBron James before, and the same thing kind of always happens. He just ends up in the finals, right? So if the Lakers don't make it out the West, what team in the West do you think will?
if you've been watching NBA all season long, there's a few teams that are just quietly getting things done. Utah just happens to have the best record in the NBA. And the reason they have the best record is because they play as a team. They've got guys getting it done all over the court. They've got rim protection. They've got elite three-point shooting. They've got a guy like Donovan Mitchell who can get it done inside, outside, handle the ball, lead this team, and is really coming into his own more and more every year. And so Quinn Snyder, I played for Quinn Snyder, played with Joe Ingles, played with Rudy Gobert. These guys are competitors. Quinn Snyder's system is big time. He's really been, I think, building this system and this program for quite a while. They've not skipped steps. And right now, this year, you're really seeing, I think, with that #1 record, how consistent and dangerous they can be. And because they haven't really made that jump in past years, I think people are in the I'll see it when I believe it mode with Utah. And I respect that. I think there's a little bit that needs to take place. But I also think the players in Utah are feeling that, and they want to prove some things. And with the Lakers sitting where they are right now, they could be out quicker than expected. Maybe not. But Utah, certainly, some things could go their way. And because they've got home court with 13,000 fans, the most fans in the NBA right now, in an arena, 13,000 fans, they're going to have a home court. And they actually are the team that has the best home court record all season long, 31-5 this season so far. So it could be a real difference, especially for them.